Quite a few years ago now, my first church where I pastored was in southern Indiana, Hillham. You've heard me talk about it, so I don't need to go there now. But it was just a little country church, and I loved it. And while I was there, we relocated and we built a new church on a hill with 3 acres. Okay, so it was a nice country church in the country. Well, 25 years later, they wanted to have a 25th year reunion. Now, I'm long gone. In fact, now I'm in San Diego, and I'm speaking for Promise Keepers, and I'm writing books. And they wanted me to come back, but I could tell when they called me, they were a little bit intimidated, and, you know, would you come back? And I said, I'd love to come back. And then they wanted to know how much it would cost. You know, I mean, we're doing the whole deal. I said, it won't cost you anything. I'll pay for the expenses. I want to bring my kids. I want to show them where they weren't born then. I said, I'll just come back. And so we set the date for the 25th anniversary for the new building to come back. And I remember hanging up the phone and Margaret looking at me and saying, John, this is going to be a challenge. Those people haven't grown for 25 years. Those people are still having the same conversations with the same people at the same tables. And you're like a rocket. He says, I'm going to watch this. This will be very interesting. How are you going to connect with those people? And I thought, it's got a point. So I began to say, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to go back to Hillham, Indiana with these precious, wonderful farmers and connect? So I worked hard on it. And I'm going to just kind of give you the points real quickly and kind of share the story, and hopefully it'll all make sense to you, because these are the things I did to make sure I connected with those people when I'm back. Number one, I searched for memorabilia of our time together. I went back to the old pictures. I went back through the old sermons I'd preached. Anything that I had done there that I had kept and filed and collected, I searched and I began to pile it in a group. So that when I went back, I would have the pictures, and I'd say, hey, remember this one? And I'd show them the picture of 301 people out in front of an old country church building. Do you remember that day? Because that was the record attendance day that I knew that they still remembered, and I also knew that was still the record attendance. I worked, number two, on remembering their names. Now, when I left, there weren't that many names to remember, but it had been 25 years. So how am I going to know them today? Well, I called Ken Jackson, who I had the privilege of sharing my faith with, and who now was an elder in that congregation. And I said, Ken, have you had a directory of your church lately? He said, yeah, last year we did a directory. And I said, you meet me in West Baden when I get into town, meet me across in the parking lot, told him the store, and I said, bring that directory with you. He brought the directory, and I sat in the car for 30 minutes. And I went through all those faces, 25-year-old older faces, and I got all the names. So that when I arrived, I remembered every name. Number three, I tried to make them feel special. I thought, I've got to do something to the people that were with me then, because, of course, congregations changed. Not a lot of people that were with me back then wouldn't be there now, and vice versa. And I said, I will come to the church and speak on Sunday if you'll let me come in a day early. And I would like to have a Saturday meeting. Now, when I say meeting, not a church service, I would like to let's have dinner together, and I only want the people to come that were there when I was there. I don't want any strangers. I don't want any new people. I just want the people that were there when I was there, so that it could just be us. In other words, I was having a holy huddle. You know what I'm talking about? Just us four and no more. And I said, remember, members only. Don't let anybody in. Don't let it. Oh my goodness, when I came on that Saturday night for dinner, those people, that handful of people, I mean, I'm saying a handful of people, there could have been over 55, 60 people there in that process. But I am telling you, they had their cameras ready, and I mean, we took more pictures than 55 people have ever taken in their life. Number four, I made my visit personal for as many people as possible. I went back through my records, and if I had a baptism certificate of somebody I baptized, I brought it with me. So I said, hey, Ab, by the way, you remember when I baptized you out in the pond? And he did remember that, because it was my first baptism. I didn't know anything about baptism. Nobody told me I was supposed to hold on to the person when I put him under. I didn't know, holding my wrist. I had no clue. After all, I just graduated with honors from college that prepared me for the ministry, and why would they ever teach me how to do anything practical, helpful, and life-changing? And so literally, when I put Ab down in that, and it was a farm pond. You got to get the picture, okay? We're in Hillham. It was and when I put Ab, he was the stiffest board. When I put him down, he just floated away from me, And I can still remember, I grabbed him by his knees and pulled him back, And so it was, then I wasn't sure he was completely down. So then I pushed him down, and about drowned the guy. You know what I'm talking about? Hey, Ab, I've got the baptism certificate, or almost your death certificate when you drown. Hey, Shirley Crowder, I want to give you this sermon. What's this, Pastor? This is a sermon I preached when you gave your heart to Christ. And I started passing out personal memorabilia to those people, and they just began to weep openly. And I looked over in the corner where Margaret was, and I smiled real big. Do you think I'm connecting, sweetheart? Do you think I've got them here yet, huh? Number 5, I made an effort to spend extra time with the people on Sunday. In fact, I said, well, let's go to church early, so when they come into church, I'll be there to shake their hands and meet the new people. So we went 30 minutes early. Hey, the parking lot was already full, and the place was packed. They were already there. They were already there. And so I remember I literally went pew by pew, because I had 30 minutes before the service, and I shook everyone's hand, met all the people. After the service, stayed until the last person until the pastor said, okay, we can lock the door, Number 6, during the sermon, I shared my mistakes. I talked to them very candidly about this was my first church and all the things that I had done that were not good. And they laughed because they remembered some of the things that I had done. And I went through the whole process. And then the last thing, because there are other things, but the last one I'll share here, is I acknowledged them as part of my success. And so I shared with them all, I was a kid, I was just out of college, I didn't know much, this is where I was. And then I looked at them, and in my sermon, I said to them, when a person graduates from seminary, it ought to be a requirement they have to come and spend a year at Hillham because of all the things you taught me and what I learned from you. And it was the most wonderful, precious day. And we're back on the plane with the kids. We're going back to San Diego. Margaret was holding my hand, and she said, John, you connected.